I hope you're having an amazing day. My name is Colin, and in this video we're going to have another look at Metavpad. We did extremely well on the launch. Where are we now and where is it moving forward? Because the next vesting is coming up. Nothing in this video is financial advice. It is for entertainment purposes only. A full price prediction on the movement of Metavpad. I have been extremely impressed with this launch. I'm not going to participate in the launchpad itself, but I do have a lot of leftover vesting every month to gain. So obviously I'm interested in where can the price move for 2022, specifically longer term, medium long term. Right, so this is a project incubated by Bluezilla, and usually their launches do really well, just as this launch did extremely well. Now, I've heard from the Bluezilla team that the first project will be launching in January on Metavpad, and they are building up a pipeline. So they're actually going to enable the staking, right, which is already enabled. You can get your guaranteed allocation if you're interested in that. I'm not interested in it. Actually, I am more interested to see where the price will go when my vesting has been released. Let me tell you why specifically. The reason for this is that it has done an average ROI right now of 368x, right? Which is obviously what the Bluezilla team is famous for, their incredible ROIs. They have their own launch pads on which they launch it, and whatever your opinion of that team is or whatever doesn't concern me really. What does concern me is that it did participate in this project. It did do extremely well, so I'm looking forward to their next launch to see how that goes. I was actually incredibly lucky this time, which was just a coincidence really. If we look at the overall chart, let me go back to the first day. Right, so it opened up at the IDO price, which was like 1/10 of a cent, right? And I only had a very, very small allocation. However, it did do basically 1000x. And believe it or not, I actually sold, like in real time. I was there. I was editing a YouTube video. I just had the chart open, and it was just, well, let's just say basic luck. I didn't plan on it, nothing like that. I sold at $1. I think $1 and 0.21, something like this. So basically 1021x, which was at that point for that candle the all-time high, right? There was some like additional movement here, but like 1000%, 1000x on the initial vesting, which means that that initial vesting I got about $5,000. Which basically gave me like already a huge profit. So any vesting after that would mean more profits, right? And holding up at a 368x, I mean, nobody with any common sense can say that this is not an amazing launch, right? Everything went extremely well, and that's why I wanted to make this update video, because obviously what I think in the medium long term will happen didn't happen actually. So that was quite surprising, because I obviously in my first Metavpad video analyzed the previous behavior, previous patterns of other incubated launchpads from Bluezilla, and usually over time slowly the performance goes down. If we look at this chart, I keep zooming out, right? I keep adding more time to the chart, but the performance is not going down. The performance is extremely stable. Over around 30 to 40 cents. It moves up a little bit, it moves down a little bit, but there's not huge amounts of volatility. So obviously I have this in my portfolio. Currently I'm waiting on about $15,000 worth of vesting. Sometimes it's about 18,000, depends where the price is at. The last 7 days, according with the Bitcoin movement, the price has dropped out a little bit. However, if we look over a monthly pattern, well, monthly excluding the actual launch, because then you can see that the pattern is quite stable, right? It's a little bit of a downward trend as of this period, but it's nothing too significant, nothing I would be too worried about. However, when the vested tokens are released, I do expect some downward movement. So that is what I'm focused on. Why would I specifically focus on that? I think the market cap is a little bit high currently. They have not launched a single project yet. They do focus on the metaverse projects, which I think is extremely hyped right now. So it really depends on, I'm not going to say the first project they pull in, definitely the first 3 to 5 projects they would do. They would launch through their launch pad. And then when we look at the relative allocations, because that is the supply and demand, right? So this is basically what the listing would be. This is the tokenomics, and this is their tier system. So you would have to stake 180,000 tokens, which is about $60,000, I would say, a little bit more maybe, to get the highest allocation worth. But there's only 3 tiers, right? So it's not that significant. Specifically on the actual public price, if you did participate in any, you will have a lot of tokens. So I don't think that people buying into this launchpad is more unlikely, because it's quite expensive, than people who already did the IDO, held on to their tokens, and now are going to participate within the tiered system for the launches that are coming up on MetaVPad. I think that's a lot more likely. So then it depends on the vesting, where is the price going to move. If we look at the actual pattern here, which basically is the launch, right? So the launches on Bluezilla are obviously very much hyped. We can see they blasted it to basically an amazing 1,300x on the top of the movement here on the candle, and then it just dropped back to about where we are right now, like a 350x, right? So yes, there was a lot of drop, right, which all their launchpads have, but 350x, come on, use your fucking brain, that's like amazing, right? With 350x, it also means that the accessibility of the actual platform itself has gone down. It has become less accessible because the token price is more heavy. Now, my main point of view is that the purchase power here to push the price up to basically the all-time high here, and then the vesting, which basically the first TGE release of the tokens, which is basically linear, I think. So it's 10% at TGE, 1 month cliff, then linear over 6 months, basically for all the platforms, right? So there's a 1 month cliff, which basically means, I didn't even know that, which basically means that in this case, we're not going to see a huge price fluctuation in January. That would happen in February after that cliff, right? But they have 6 months thereafter, so they're releasing a lot more tokens, which obviously is going to increase the current market cap, and then I think the price would go down a little bit, right? Because there's like literally more circulating supply, fully diluted. Looking at 2 billion for a launchpad that has done no launches, I think is a little bit overvalued, right? But there is good opportunity, however, for this. So would I buy this right now if I'm looking to stake? No. Would I buy this in order to flip? Well, you definitely have the flip opportunity before the next vesting is released, right? Which is important. However, would I expect more? No. Would I expect less in the future? I mean, even if I would get 100x, even if like this goes back to 10 cents, I don't give a fuck really, because then I'm at 100x and still that's like amazing, right? So we do have that 1 month cliff coming up. Then it's basically linear over 6 months. So that means that we're going to see at that point like 15% monthly. Yeah, 15% released monthly, so 10%. So those are good paychecks, right? We're literally talking at that point probably like 2.5–3K a month if the price stays stable, which is, I think, great. If we look at, let's say, BSC pad, right, just their own performance, which is this token, right? From the IDO, it's still holding at 70x, and it did 329x. So this is basically these are like the other Bluezilla launchpads. So they obviously use their own ecosystem, which makes sense. So I don't assume they pay any fee for that. And they reach like a very, very broad audience, which from a marketing point of view is kind of ingenious, to be fair. I know a lot of people hate on it, but I think it's cool. 50x, 142x, so stable again. 51x, 140x. So yeah, the vesting is different was different at least for all of these projects, but it does give a good indication then on the longevity of MetaVPad that we're actually looking at even coming down to maybe a 50x overall. You know, the price would move down to, let's say, 6 cents at that point, which might sound like a huge drop, right? But I did say it was quite overvalued currently. But it really depends on that cliff time and then the vesting, right? So when that vesting is released, I think we'll see some movement in the price and the downward trend, to be fair. But obviously the great thing is before then, because that's still about 45–50 days from now, we're looking at the first listings, and the listings obviously require staking, which then reduce the actual, it is in the circulating supply, but it's not liquid, so the cash can't be moved around immediately unless they pay the burn fee, right? So if you unstake early, there's like a burn fee. There will be a 25 burn fee to unstake. If the user waits 8 weeks to unstake, there will be no fee. So the lockup period is 8 weeks, which I think is quite long. And then there's a distribution of sell fees, which is the burning protocol as well. So in this way, they're going to basically cut down the circulating supply over time and make it like deflationary that way, to basically stabilize the price, in my opinion, right? That would be, well, not even in my opinion, that would stabilize the price more and more, in a word like linear growth, depending on how many people actually would use the launchpad in order to do that. If you look at the trading activity, we can honestly say trading activity is low, which you often see on the launchpad, right? There's no major reason currently because there's no actual listings yet to basically be trading this. If we would go to Metavpad, actually pull up their Twitter, might be some information there on the actual upcoming launches. Okay, so you got the official links. Bluezilla, Happy New Year. Well, Happy New Year to you too, guys. Explore, be ready. Gear up. Okay, so they did say the first adventures are coming up. Okay, cool. Dotpad. Yeah, that's also another one from the Bluezilla. All right. Okay, more Merry Christmas, staking update. Okay, so there's already 8,500 stakers. APY quite high. All right, so that's interesting. So even if you would like to participate, the returns are quite decent. Just make sure it's 8 weeks, right? That you take that into consideration. All right, and then you have some like additional projects with additional information there. All right, cool. So nothing new yet as of now. When we look at the actual medium that's posted here, we can basically say the latest announcements. They do have quite a big following already. Yeah, so I think they're still waiting for that to go live. And there was like a Katana Edu benefit airdrop, so that's nice. I don't know how much that was or how much actually going to be, but staking minimum 30,000, so it's for the guaranteed allocation levels. And then you get an airdrop benefit, which I don't think is super huge, but it's nice. They don't have to do that for me. I don't stake, so I don't get that benefit. I don't feel bad. So basically, my long-term price prediction is that, yes, we will see a downward trend on this. Yes, that's normal because there's no project listed currently, but I think that downward trend will not set in until the vesting. So there's a balance between 3 components you need to be aware of. 1 is the current ROI, 368x, which is extremely high. So anyway, if we even drop down to 100x, 50x, I would still be extremely happy as an investor. That's point 1. Point 2, the vesting. Relative to the staking, relative to the burning, relative to the launching. If more projects launch, which means more people need to stake in order to participate, which means more tokens burn, which means the deflationary effects are being set in, cutting down the circulating supply, stabilizing the price. Same demand, less supply, which means price would go up. Then compare that whole set, which I just said real quick, to the vesting being released. We might not see major fluctuations at all. It would just require some time depending on the projects that Metavpad will actually launch in 2022. So we need to wait for that, which means, again, I will make in the future an update, probably in about 5 weeks from now when the tokens are being released. We have a good idea of where the price will move, what the opportunity will be with Metavpad. But so far, I am extremely happy. I'm definitely looking forward to the next Bluezilla launch, which I will obviously cover on this channel, because 1000x, even 100x, I'm not going to say no to. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.